Good afternoon and welcome back to I can't believe it. This has been a blitz, our third in a row industry chats of the week. And I have someone very near and dear to me. So, Adam Tuttle, founder and CEO of Yipy. Adam, thank you for being on the show today.
Oh, Jasmine, I've been waiting for this longer than I can say. So it is truly my pleasure.
Oh,
Genuinely. Thank you for having me. This is awesome.
honestly, so the audience will probably pick up on this quickly, but you and I met through the E20X competition.
Yes.
And we like became instant buddies. I mean, it was just like,
Yes.
because you have all these boys, I have all these boys. Like, we just understand what life is like having your own startup and like a million children running around. So,
It's just, it's so fun. And not only did we be able to get to connect, personally and stuff, but it was also fun. Like, I think everyone in that E20X competition just
yes.
became really good friends. It's so great to have that and to have that camaraderie of the industry. It's just so great.
Well, I had Susan Springsteen on Tuesday, and she and I have become very close friends of H2O Connected. It's amazing. I mean, that cohort, if you will, I'm like, I don't
Yes.
know if anyone could ever be what we were, just saying.
They could try, but never to be replicated.
I know. Well, and you guys, like, I keep up because I know you're busy and I'm busy, so I don't get to like chat with you as much as I would love to. But Yippee is like the best way possible blowing up. Like, you're everywhere. So I cannot wait to chat today. Before we dive in, because like I have so many words, tell us a little bit about, because you have such an interesting background as a hotelier before you started the company, which I think is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Jason Imanis, who I know helps you with marketing, has helped us with marketing. He says like you're one of the only startup founders in the industry that actually lived the problem prior. So tell us a little bit about you, Adam, and then introduce Yippy. Like, tell everybody why they need Yippy in their lives.
Yeah. Well, everyone does need yippee. Everyone needs to say yippee.
Everybody.
But, my background and my career was never intended to be on this side of the desk, as I like to call it. And, my career was, I'm a trained hotelier. I went to hotel school in Las Vegas at UNLV and started my hotel career with the La Quinta Inn and Suites, Airport South. Call out to them. They're amazing. And then from there, I got picked up with Four Seasons and had a wonderful and amazing career with Four Seasons, where I just got to meet some of just the most amazing, talented professionals and hoteliers within the industry. And I did technically like four moves, like three locations, but four. So I did Las Vegas, Washington, D.C. I opened the Four Seasons at Disney World, and then went back to Vegas at that property. And so I did that one twice. And it was just so wonderful to grow from line level to, the leadership positions there and really understand, what does it take to genuinely operate a hotel, and having been able to do the positions of, the entire rooms position, have exposure into the F&B world,
Yeah.
out into, recreation. Really, there's not a lot of places in hospitality that professionally I didn't have at least exposure or, experience in. And then from there, I ended up leaving Four Seasons to start a consulting company where I worked with hotels to better their service quality and their revenue, right? And really focused on how we were going to, help the industry that way. And what I quickly noticed in that experience was that the pains that I experienced
Yeah.
as a hotelier within Four Seasons at the properties that I was at weren't unique to Four Seasons. I mean, they weren't unique to the properties that I were at. It's actually a shared global challenge, and a lot of that revolves around: does anybody know what the expectations actually are, and how do I make sure I'm in compliant at all times, whether I'm helping a Forbes guest or or I should say, whether I'm helping a property where it's Forbes related, or they have American Express, or they're part of a preferred hotel program, or they're trying to prepare for their BSA brand standard audit.
Yeah. Okay.
It really came down to the question of, like, people want to be prepared. Hoteliers want to be excellent executors.
Yeah.
One of the challenges then of just knowing, okay, what are those expectations and how do we get everybody onto the same page? And so as a consultant, it was like, gosh, I need a tool. I need something that I can help do this. Like I need something where I can say, here's all the expectations and they can all live in one place. And I can know, okay, these are the health department standards and these are the,
Oh God.
AAA standards. And this is what my general manager wants us to do. And then how do I audit those internally and walk the floor and make sure that I'm a present leader and, work with my, as a consultant, how do I then work with that hotel and have data that I can say, okay, we're improving, like we're
Yes.
actually getting better, we're progressing. Cool. Well, that program didn't exist after searching and looking. And so that's really what led to Yipy. And so, I guess the question is, why should everybody be on Yipy? And I think it's because every hotel, no matter the size of the operation, whether it's an extreme luxury hotel that all of us dream about, or whether it's a hotel that we're just passing by on the road for a good night's sleep, all of them have standards and expectations that need to be met. All of them have requirements, and I guarantee you that there's not one of them, unless they're on Yipy, that have that really organized, that have that in a meaning, that their standards presented in a meaningful way, that they can track what the standards are, receive regular updates, and then actually look into the quality inspection of, are we doing it right? And so what Yipy is at its core is the world's first standards management platform, allowing hoteliers to simplify their processes and ensure that excellence is able to exist within any property.
I love it. I'm already sold. And I have so many questions. So
let's do it.
Okay. Before we go into Yipy itself, because I have all these questions, were you specifically a consultant for standards, or did that just come with your package offering? Like, how did, or were you like, oh my gosh, I can't handle this anymore. I'm here to help. Because you have to have had some kind of focus.
It started off with just like, okay, let's do just a little bit more training and we'll talk about some general best practices, things like that, and then upsell revenue training. So that's really where it started.
Okay.
And then in the consulting world, it realized like, okay, the reason that we need training is because you don't actually have any standards. Like your team is pulling from all of these different experiences. And what I've always said about standard is if you don't have standards, someone will give you standards. They will make them up. And what do I mean by that is, if you hire, let's call it a front desk agent, and your standards are, hey, go be nice and go be friendly. Well, that front desk agent is going to then bring in, well, this is what I did at my last property, and these are the things that they did. And all of a sudden, you may be a Marriott, but all of a sudden you're acting like a Hilton, right? Yeah. Because this is how they do it. Or, whatever that may be, a server. All of a sudden you have your servers on the floor acting like, they're over at Ruth's Chris because that's where they're brought in from. So it quickly became, hang on, I need to help consult on standards. So I became a very niche focused consultant that helped hotels specifically revamp, revise, create standards.
Okay. I love it. And then what would you say is the biggest area of need, if possible? So when I'm thinking front desk, like I'm thinking, but I don't know this, like, you need to have a certain way you're greeting your guests, or maybe there's standards for the way that you interact while you're on the software because you still want to make eye contact. But I assume it goes all the way to like, is maintenance involved in this? I mean, how many departments does standards touch?
Standards touches every single department in a hotel and beyond the hotel. I mean, we're talking, when I think most of the time we think of the word standards within the industry, we immediately go to smile, be nice, use the guest name, collect credit cards, like those types of things. And I would argue that those are some of the most important standards.
Right.
But also on top of that is the ability to have standards around, product quality. I mean, we're talking room quality. Does the bathroom have mold? Is the shower curtain the right curtain? Right? I mean, it touches product. As far as like, is the right iron in the room? Do we have the right hangers? Are there the right amount of hangers? And then even further into culinary, right? Is the refrigerator holding the right temperatures? Are we prepared for the health inspection that's coming, and the fines that may exist there? And so when you start looking at standards, we call this our Yipy moment with our clients, where they go, wait a minute, I can be using this in my kitchen, or, oh my gosh, I can be using this in my engineering and my housekeeping from a perfect room perspective. I can be using this if you really want to get crazy with it, in your financial, financial stuff, like fine, you can do that. The key is we've said if there's an expectation, that's a standard, and that belongs in Yipy.
Okay. And then what is amazing. I wasn't even thinking like kitchen temperature, by the way. I'm like, light bulb
Food
moment.
temperature, holding, sink washing, making sure that a sink is exclusively dedicated for hand washing. I mean, it is wild where those standards exist.
It is crazy. And by the way, I'm getting over a really bad cold, so apologies for all of my coughing.
You're very good.
But yeah, 3 kids, so germs are abundant. Okay, so my next question then is, what were people doing before Yipy, or what are people doing that haven't discovered Yipy? Because you guys are obviously solving a major pain point.
Yeah.
What are you seeing like when you go into these hotels?
I look over here because I brought a prop with me.
Oh, I want to see. Oh, you're my first guest to bring a prop.
Oh, I only bring props, but I can't show it all because this is a report of of an audit of like, this is what hotels actually get. And they get emailed this, right? And we're talking hundreds of pages, right? Hundreds of pages.
Emailed.
And they get emailed. And when you want to say, oh, hey, what is our standards? Like, what are they? There's so many things to talk about here. Most brands, when we're talking large brands or even management companies, when they want to distribute their standards, what they do is they take a PDF, a Word document, they make it a PDF, they digitize it, and they put it into some folder somewhere. Okay. And that could be on a SharePoint. We were working with a property group in Hawaii, and it was so great. And we can call them out, Prince Resorts. They're so amazing because they're so dedicated onto organizing things. And they said, look at where all of our standards existed. They existed in, this drive, and then this person's, had this folder, and then this leader came on and they had all their standards. And they were all just these either digital PDF Word documents, or, I'm not even lying, spreadsheet, Excel documents of, okay, here's these standards. And so when you think about, okay, I want to update this.
Yeah.
First of all, what do you update?
I was just going to say that. What are we updating?
Which version? Version 1, final 2, right? Like, what is, like, where is the version? And then also, like, what do you do if there's conflicting information? Like, which one is, supersedes what? And so, most of our clients are genuinely, before they come onto Yipy, and I think the majority of the industry is doing one of 3 things. Like, 1, they have some type of SharePoint where they're accessing documents that have to be manually updated. Right. 2, they are working out of an even more archaic system that we're talking like actual printed documents, like binders and printed checklists. Yep. Yeah. Of like an actual dusty binder, which is something that we love to talk about. And then the other option is literally nothing, where they just are kind of like,
they're just,
do it, like through what we call an oral history, right? Like this passed on tradition of, well, I got trained this way, this is how you do it. And that's how training in hospitality has mainly taken place. Yeah. And so those standards almost live in like a pseudo living state where they're not actually defined, but they're just understood.
Well, and I'm sure when new staff comes on, it's very challenging to even remember to train. I mean, I can only imagine if I'm new front desk agent or I'm the manager of training, am I even going to remember to, of course the basics, but what are you forgetting?
And how do you go back and check it? And like, where do you go and like look to make sure you're doing it right? And then on top of that, there's this old expression that was drilled into me when I was in hospitality and working at Four Seasons. And it was, inspect what you expect. And when we think about that of like, how do I, as a leader, truly know if I'm performing well, if I can't clearly define what those expectations are, and more importantly, if I'm not out on the floor, if I'm not out actually making those observations and providing feedback. Contrary to popular belief, most team members, especially Gen Z, millennials, not to go generational on us, want constant feedback on performance,
Yeah.
quality, and whether that's good or bad, they just want the feedback. And so if we're leaders, we're not giving feedback because, gosh, yeah, the check-in sounded great, but we don't have like those details and the data to then circle back and say like, hey, your check-in's going really great. We're missing this step, right?
Mhm.
We're forgetting to create this sense of place, or we're really
Yeah.
creating, failing to do this, or vice versa. Oh my gosh, congratulations! Like you really did this really, really well. Like way to use the guest name during that check-in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or you greeted the guest and you remember their order from last time. That really showed personalization and recognition. And when you have those standards understood and explained, it's not creating robotic consistency. It's creating guest consistency where they're like, oh my gosh, I love this experience.
Oh, well, and I mean, it goes without saying, then that bleeds into reviews and TripAdvisor reviews and return guests because if they have
Everything.
everything. And then I'm sure it also, on the employee side, it helps with retention because I'm a millennial. I am a tried and true millennial. I read like the memes and the jokes, and I'm like, yep, every bit of that
Yep.
is. So I love positive.
Guilty.
Guilty. And I'm loving, so we have a little interaction here from the audience, but our friend Kate, she's over at Event Temple. Hi, Kate. She says, that's how we've always done it. This phrase in general, but in hospitality for sure needs to be forbidden. What are your thoughts?
Oh my gosh. Look, that's the way that it's always been done, I think is the enemy to like, wait, what about that's the way it should be done? Like,
Yeah.
I understand that that's how you want it to be done, or that's how we've been doing it for years. But
Right.
sometimes those standards evolve. Sometimes those standards change, right? And when we look at the industry and we look at this hospitality world, this
Yeah.
is not a stagnant industry. As much as we want to think that it is, these standards are updating every year. It's a constant evolution. And especially in the hospitality world, Kate, you've got it exactly right. We cannot rest on this is the way it's always been done, but
Yeah.
instead we need to focus on this is the way we need it to be done. Right?
Yes.
This
Yeah.
is the expectation. This is how it should be done. And I always like to say that we need to define how success looks, sounds, and feels. If we don't define that as leadership, if we're not, in charge of that, the vacuum will fill it in. People will then say, well, this is how I've been doing it for all these years, and no one's ever told me otherwise.
Yes. Well, and so Kate was a hotelier for her whole career until like, I don't know, Kate, maybe a year ago. So she understands. I bet you she's over there like nodding because she kind of walked the walk. And what I'm curious about, Adam, so what I really like about Yipy, because, obviously I'm in the tech space. I'm somehow, I don't know how I ended up,
Same story. Yeah.
deep into tech, but I love it. I love that you guys blend tech and standards because from what I'm hearing, and I haven't even lived this necessarily, but it's like paper and that just doesn't work anymore, right? Or maybe it never did. So you've blended tech and standards. Can you walk me through? Because I feel like if I were listening to this or if I'm watching on YouTube later and I want to share, check out Yipy. Like, what does Yipy do? Tell me exactly, if
Yeah.
you can, if you are a Yipster, is that what you guys call
Oh,
it?
that's what we're called, Yipsters.
Okay. If I am, my hotel is, what is the day-to-day use case? And maybe it's different for each, but tell me about that.
Yeah. First of all, Jasmine, I think you're an honorary Yipster. I think that is
I need
already
some,
granted. Like, you need the merch. You
need
need the
merch.
hat. You need the shirt. Well, let's talk through three use cases. Because there's really three different ones, and we'll talk about the primary two first, which are, let's say that I am what we call a standard provider. This is somebody that says, hey, I have standards that my organizations need to follow. And that could be I am a leader within a hotel, or it could be that I'm a brand leader. I create standards and I distribute those through my organization. And what they're going to do and find in Yipy that's so unique is Yipy doesn't digitize forms.
Yeah.
We go down to the standard level. I think that that's really the secret sauce within Yipy, and it's what makes us so unique and gives us such a competitive edge that every standard is uniquely identified. And then so that way that as organizations create and compile SOPs, workflows, checklists, sequences of service, whatever we want to call those, the order of standards,
Yeah.
you're able to refer back to single standard points, right? Let's use examples here because it can break our brain. Using the guest name. This is a standard that is one of the golden standards of the industry. And how many SOPs does this standard exist on? And we're talking on reservations, on greeting at the drive, greeting by the bellman, by the doorman, by the front desk agent, by the housekeeper, if they, interact with the guests in their room, at the pool, at the restaurant, right? And you think, okay, all of these standards exist. If I were traditionally doing this, I would have to go and update every single one of those documents if I were to change that standard.
Yeah.
What Yipy does for these standard publishers is it allows them to update their singular standards, and everywhere that standard is created or is used, it automatically updates. So that update is broadly published and makes it easy. And for these standard publishers, you're able to do exactly that, publish standards, which means you're able to share your standards across a large portfolio or company or network that subscribe to your standards through a genuine subscription model, where you're able to say, hey, here's my standards. We've got it all organized in what we call a catalog. And great, you're a new property to our organization. Here are the standards. Boom, it's all loaded. It's all formatted. They have everything that they need to do. And then the property now we're going to move to the property side. What they get is now the opportunity to have all these standards given to them. They're able to organize them. Then they're able to modify them into local use as they need to. They're able to adapt them and say, okay, this is great, but in Hawaii, we don't just say, hey, we say aloha.
Yeah.
Or we don't say, hello, we say aloha. So we're going to make sure that we adapt that, and we make sure that it feels and creates our sense of place. We're going to infuse standards that might be an addition that maybe we didn't get from corporate, or we didn't get from Forbes or American Express or AAA or anything like that. And so what Yipy does is it creates these standards, and then based off of the position of the individual logging in, they're able to view and see exclusively and only the standards that are relevant to them. So they're able to say, hey, I'm a doorman. Hey, here's the door standards, 1, 2, 3, 4, door arrival, door departure, general guest help, loading luggage, whatever those may be. Here's all the standards and the sequences that you need to be familiar with.
Wow.
And the back end on all of this, I shouldn't say, or the tail end, is that all of this can be reported on because we have the standards, because we have the organization, because we have the sequential way that they should be done. Any leader that is within the organization or has the proper permission, whether that be in the organization or maybe they've granted, secret shopper or other permissions into their org, can then perform inspections or audits and say, okay, how are we doing on these standards? And with that comes this rich pool of data where leaders every day can log in and say, okay, how do I lead my team? We have one leader who taught us how she used Yipy. And it was amazing, where she logs in every single day and she goes into her reports and she says, okay, these are the people that are working, because every day the shift is different. Here's who's working this shift, and it pulls up and it shows this group an aggregate of their compliance scores. And it can show, okay, this group needs to focus on 1, 2, 3, these 3 standards. So in that stand up, they would say, hey, let's talk about what do we do, and how do we place the luggage, or let's talk about greeting the guests at the cars, right? And what's that time expectation? So this leader showed in her first 3 months of Yipy an increase of her audit scores from her professional audits from a 70% into the 90s. On her team's performance, right? Because the standards were defined, the leader was present, observations were made, data was captured, feedback was given. It's a recipe for absolute success.
Oh, I mean,
I hope that explained everything.
And it was perfect. It was perfect. Well, because that's what I was thinking too, is like on the back end, surely there's a way to do this somewhat of an audit. And we're a little past time, but I don't really care. I don't really care. So what happens if, 2 questions. So let me back up. If I am a hotel, do hotels then use this to say, we want to have a Forbes, really great rating this year? Do they then input those standards or make sure those standards are a part of the system? And then when a change happens, if they add a standard, who gets alerted? Now I'm just I want to get in the weeds because I'm so
it's so great. Yipy is an agnostic system. And so really what that means is we are here to take the standards that the properties have rights to use, and they're able to put them into the system, and then they're able to adopt, they're able to merge, they're able to put things together. My favorite things are when people do what I call a true check-in, and they're able to say, hey, look, this is for example, I always go to check-ins because that's my past life. where they're able to say, hey, here's every standard that you need to meet from our accolade providers, from our brands, from our general manager, our front office leader. Here's everything that you do. If you follow this prescribed checklist, and they can see on the top, like, oh, this is a, maybe this standard comes from an accolade, or this standard comes from a brand, or this standard comes from my GM. They can see that. But they'll be able to see where everything should be and the order that it should be in. And so they're really able to really dig into what does the experience look like at my property, and how do I make sure that I'm able to do that. So you can upload any standard you want. You can, as long as you have permissions and rights to do so. We're the platform that you're able to do that with, and again, all types of standards exist.
Well, and I'm just thinking, like, we have a Affixify buyer, and he shared with me recently, like, that they're consistently acquiring hotels, and a lot of those hotels were once, a different flag, so to speak.
Yep.
And so I'm like, well, how nice is that to be able to say, here's exactly what you need to know what we expect of you now that you're under this.
100%. Like, you get a catalog. So for example, this person, they would get a catalog, they would make that. And whenever they opened up or took over a new hotel, all they do is click share, and it goes to that property, and that property gets every detailed list that they can then go fill out. Do we have this? Do we not have this? And they can get a compliance report. Where do we need to focus? Where do we not need to focus? How do we move forward?
I have so many ideas for you. I'm like, we need to get you guys, like, for, restaurants that want to be Michelin starred. I mean, you could just do so much with what you're doing. I love it.
Yes. Anywhere that has a standard needs Yipy.
Oh, I'm going to end on I don't know, I want your feedback on this. So this was unplanned, off script, but so I have a horror story on standards, and I just want your thoughts on it.
I'm all about that.
I was not planning on doing this. Would never name the name. I don't even remember the name. It was just a one-off. I was driving to the hospitality show in San Antonio last year. And Stephanie and I stopped off. We drove in the evening because we're 4 hours away, and we stopped off in the Austin area. Just like, okay, it was like 11 o'clock. We wanted to spend the night, and we had gotten a quick room through Expedia. Anyway, this property, we walk in. It was a little iffy anyway, but the owner was the one checking us in, and we get to our room, and the toilet had the like a tab around it as if it had been clean, but it was like anyway, I'll spare you the details. So we actually packed up our stuff because it was that bad, and we went back out and asked for a room change. And he doesn't know anything about us, obviously, and he looks at his computer and he goes, well, the housekeeper said in the system it's clean. And I was like, but it's not. And that was it. I mean, so we actually left and found a new hotel. And I'm like, man, if they had a standard procedure, because I'm sure there's SOPs for when something goes wrong, when something, and it was just, and I mean, we live and learn. I never got the money back, but I remember I was just like, well, that's $99 of my life it wasn't a lot, but
yeah, and when it comes down to it, it's so fun that you actually bring this story up as a horror story. And sometimes the guest experience is the standard. Yeah. It truly is. Everything is the standard. Our hotel's profitability is based off of your ability to deliver on your standards, and make sure you have the right products and services that are offered and delivered. Every time a guest walks away from a hotel, from any type of experience, what they're really doing is evaluating the standards and the experiences that they received. How did this hotel deliver on either maybe very explicit expectations that the guest has, or sometimes just unknown, right? Like the bare essentials, like my room should be clean. I don't think anyone needs to assume that that's an expectation on a hotel when you walk in. And so, the big question always comes around to, how does it affect ROI? Like where is this? And I think what the most important thing to understand about standards is it touches in the most personal way your bottom line, which is your guest satisfaction.
Yeah. Oh, you're so right. Well, I mean, what you guys are doing is phenomenal. This was just the best, like such a fun conversation. I love following your journey, having the front row seat, and I can't wait to keep following and just watch you guys' growth. And last question. So how can people get in touch with you? Like, what's the best way?
Oh my gosh. Well, you can always email me directly at adam@yipy.io. So Yipy.io, which is always great. Or just visit our website at yippy.io and get in touch with us there. Follow me on LinkedIn. I'm always trying to post what we're doing and some tidbits, a little bit of secrets from my training days. But really looking forward to connecting with everyone out there.
Awesome. Well, Adam, thank you so much. This was such a joy. I hope you have a good holiday season with your
You as
family.
well. Thank you so much, Jasmine. Thanks for having me on.
Okay, we'll see everybody next week.